The topic is the Korean War and Civil Rights, and we're talking to Dr. Charles Kimbrough. Dr. Kimbrough, let's move you into your collegiate education. As a matter of fact, I think that you've already indicated that there was never a real tradition among your family, being a rural family, to think in terms of education, especially higher education. How did you become involved in higher education?
Well, after finishing grade school, I wanted to go to high school and told Papa that I did. And he reminded me that somebody had to stay there to help on the farm. And of course my two older brothers had left, and I looked around for somebody and I only saw myself. And so I stayed on the farm 2 additional years after finishing grade school prior to starting the high school. And speaking of the Army, I went to be drafted, and of course because of a childhood accident, I was not accepted, and so I was 18 at that point. So a bus started coming within a mile of our house, and for colored people, or white people apparently thought it was a pretty good thing at that point to that colored people should have an opportunity to go to high school 10 miles away. So I got on the school bus at that point and started the high school. And went for 2 years, good student, taking in consideration sometime I was out of school 2 or 3 days a week instead, and in school 2 or 3 days. I kept up. In fact, there were people who would say, "Oh, cuz you made the honor roll. You're on the, you're doing all right." And after 2 years, of course, I'm almost 20 years of age. And even though I had been rejected when I first was drafted, then I said, well, you know, if I can no longer play football, Tennessee has its tradition of you're out of the game, you get after your 19th birthday. So I said, maybe I'm going to volunteer for the Army. And went to the Army, volunteered, made a good score as I understood, because there was no great demand for soldiers in 1947, war having been completed in 1945. So I went to the Army, was accepted in the Army, in Korea twice, and then after that went to Tennessee State and subsequently Tuskegee. So I was there again. Well, I'm traveling, breaking new ground every time I trod on something, but I'm moving on. So that's how I got to college. That granted me a college education, GI Bill. I had some pretty high sights. Somehow I didn't know how I was going to get there. As I understand it now, the Lord was guiding me through some very turbulent waters, but I was getting in some places that have become very significant to me.
Well, now, how was Tuskegee Institute when you first arrived there? And what influence were you able to see of Mr. Washington's presence, not only there, but throughout the state of Alabama, in the South, in a real sense?
Well, you know, I think that if people could go to Tuskegee, and even now, and see the curriculums, how they're laid out, you could have a greater appreciation for President Dr. Washington. You know, there was a lot of controversy, the Du Bois side and the Washington side. Washington has let you bucket down where you are. And black people at that time did not have access to voting rights, a lot of things. So one thing he believed in, that you have a trade. And at Tuskegee, you can go, and if you're not able to finish in 4 years, if you're not able to go there on a regular paid scholarship, you can work your way through and finish in 5 years. So that's a Washington flavor right there. And of course, being a agrarian area, agriculture, any facet of farming can be found, including shoemaking and so forth, right there at Tuskegee. So it is a great legacy for people to see what was taken by Dr. Washington in terms of opportunities and given to the mass of the people. You know, one of the features that you see on Tuskegee right now is the veil of ignorance being lifted from the face of the person, ex-slaves. So that's a part of the flavor right there.
And all of that had a tremendous impact, even on you in 1947, many years after after Washington himself.
Well, I went to Tuskegee to the School of Veterinary Medicine in 1956. And that was a critical time because the NAACP, speaking of the NAACP, it was disenfranchised in the state of Alabama. That should tell black people now, if you want to know what the NAACP does or what it has done, it shows you that it was the kind of force that people who could just make their own laws almost on technicalities. You know, you don't reveal your membership roll, then you're not registered in the state of Alabama. We're disenfranchised. You can't operate. So that made Tuskegee, being as heavily as it was with black population, a greater force because you had people there thinking, how are we going to get out of this abysses of racism? So you have organizations coming into being like the Tuskegee Civic Association, which Dr. Gomillion headed for so many years and dealt with the gerrymandering, for instance. That's one thing. Tuskegee, unlike any other county probably in the...
Dr. Kimbrough, let me interrupt for this second commercial break, and after which we'll come back and then we'll allow you to continue this conversation. And of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very, very short commercial break. The guest is Dr. Charles